Hey guys, I thought I'd just do a quick video on RAM, and this will probably be a very quick video. I just wanted to go over a couple of bits that people don't necessarily take into consideration when I see people choosing what hardware they're going to get. Um, RAM is fairly well. A lot of people know what RAM is. Everybody knows what gigabytes is. Um, it's a fairly simple bit of kit to buy. A lot of people know a lot about it, but I'll just go straight into what I see people not knowing so much about. The first thing is channels on your motherboard. So nowadays you get either dual or triple channel memory. Um, Depending on the motherboard will depend on how many channels you've got. Just check your motherboard. In most cases it's going to be dual channel. I believe the only current motherboards that use triple channel are the motherboards that you could put the old i7s in, so the i7 900 series. I can't remember the socket number off the top of my head, I'm afraid, but they use triple channel memory. Everything after that, even sort of the 2011 socket, I think still uses dual channel memory. And what this basically means is you have to install RAM in pairs, and it's best to use pairs that are exactly the same sticks of memory, because the computer works by writing half the data to one RAM stick and half the data to the other RAM stick, so it effectively doubles the speed of your RAM. This is really good because it stops any bottlenecks being caused by the RAM, and yeah, that's basically what it's for, stopping bottlenecks. However, I still see people sort of saying, oh, I'm going to put 12 gigs of RAM in sort of 3 times 4 gigs, and this turns off dual channel memory. You must install RAM in pairs. There's no sort of... You can't just install a pair and then add one, and the first set will run in dual channel and the second one won't. You have to install it in pairs. That says it's not really an issue because you don't need 12 gigabytes of RAM. Another rumour that most people that know anything about computers will know, but just in case of people building their first sort of PC, having loads of RAM won't speed up your PC. Having enough RAM will keep your computer from lagging because you won't run out of RAM. But there's no point in having loads of RAM. So if you're going to make a build nowadays, a gaming build that is, you want 8 gigs of RAM. If you're going to make a general use build, you probably want 4 gigs of RAM. Don't get more than this because it's pointless. I've got a gaming build and I've got 8 gigs, and the only time I use more than 4 gigs is when I'm running SimCity windowed mode and running stuff in background because I'm just letting it go away at cheetah speed. And then I get up to about 5 gigs of RAM with things like Google Chrome and iTunes open. Other than that, sorry, just muted myself there. Other than that, I've never used any more than 4 gigs of RAM at any one time. It's the only thing that could mean you really need the 8 gigs of RAM for gaming. If you're not going to run SimCity, in windowed mode. Is in new consoles because they'll have 8 gigs of RAM, although this is shared RAM between the GPU and the CPU. But we could see games going up to sort of 5 gigs quite happily, sort of bigger levels. So yeah, I'd definitely go with the 8 gigs of RAM if you're making a game PC currently. You can, however, get away with 4 gigs of RAM if you really don't have the money. Another thing to go on to is latency. Latency timings basically just mean how long it takes to get the information when you want to go and get the information. So a lot of people will say, oh, I can get sort of 32 gigs in sort of 2 times 8 gigs, 2 times 8 gigs. 2 times 8 gigs is slower than 2 times 4 gigs, even if it's faster. What I mean by this is if you have one 3 megahertz, 4 gigs RAM, against a 1600 megahertz 8 gigabyte RAM, the 4 gigabytes probably perform equally to the 8 gigabyte ones, because of the higher latency timings on the 8 gigabyte ones. It's just you've got more RAM on the same stick, but you've got the same interface. So you've got the same number of gold pins attached to your motherboard, you've got the same bandwidth, but you've got more stuff being transferred in and out of that piece of RAM. And for obvious reasons, it's just like having a traffic jam. It's like having a bigger city and a smaller city, but both being attached to a main road by one road. You've got the bigger city is going to get clogged up more on that road, and it's the same sort of thing with the RAM. That's the best analogy I can think of, just coming from SimCity. And yeah, I think that's all there really is to talk to about RAM. Obviously DDR2, DDR3, they're physically different. You can't put DDR3 RAM in DDR2. Oh, one last thing I will say, because I see this coming up a lot, and it comes up a scary amount of times. Graphics card RAM, that's GDDR RAM, has nothing to do with your motherboard RAM. So I quite often see people saying, oh, this motherboard's got GDDR5 memory, and my motherboard uses DDR3 or DDR2 RAM. Can I put the graphics card in there? Yes, you can. The graphics card RAM is totally independent of the motherboard RAM. It will run fine. The computer doesn't even gain access to the graphics card RAM. All stuff that's loaded onto the graphics card RAM has to run through the GPU first. And yeah, they're completely independent of one another. You can plonk the graphics card in, no problem. Any other questions, please leave me a comment. Please check out my other videos and subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much.